Hello everyone, welcome back to the SMITE Comprehensive Guide to Sun Wukong. Now, this is solo lane Sun Wukong, which is, in my opinion, the best place to play him. I don't really play him outside of solo lane because his kit is just so effective in the solo lane that it hands down is his best position. And I'll talk about other things about why I don't necessarily play him in other modes towards the end probably, but right now let's talk about solo lane Sun Wukong. Now, when I saw this loading screen and I saw the enemy's team comp, I was confused. I couldn't tell who my laning opponent was going to be. I actually had two guesses. My first guess was Sylvanas. I'm guessing at this particular point it is going to be a support Athena and a solo lane Sylvanas. I think this initially because Sylvanas actually has really good sustain, and a properly built Sylvanas can actually be very scary in the solo lane. My second guess at this particular point is Tsukiyomi, because Tsukiyomi actually has good auto attacks, and he can heal a little bit off of his auto attacks, along with great ranged auto attacks from using his abilities. And Tsukiyomi can really be quite the problem in the solo lane as well. So these are my two guesses at this particular point. But let's pop ahead a little bit here and check out, actually, there's something I want you to see. Now, first off, I'm going to go ahead and talk while I'm just standing around. I'm positioning myself here very specifically so that way I can put my ward on the other side of this wall as soon as the mana timer hits a very specific point. You'll see it's halfway down now. When there's just one last piece of the pie left, you'll see me put down my ward and move towards the blue buff, because that is just enough time for me to come from here to that blue buff, okay? Now the second thing is, I only have the starter item, right? I've upgraded my teleport and I've really stocked up on potions and the health chalice. Now, if you aren't aware, there are a couple of very specific reasons why I do this. Now, you can see where I've just now placed the ward. I'm running to the blue buff, and you can see I'm just making it in time. The reason why I do this is very specifically so that way that ward will last just long enough to last past the first wave into the start of the second, because that's usually when the enemy jungler, if they're going to show up, is going to appear. Right, nowadays there are two jungle starts, starting at speed and starting at damage. If the enemy jungler starts at damage with their mid, which is the more common of the two starts right now, then they go to speed, they clear the left jungle, and then they go right into left lane. They go right into solo lane. Let me rephrase that because the perspective will differ. But they'll go right into solo lane after that, right? If they started speed, they do the reverse, and they just stick around mid lane. However, because starting at damage is the more common start nowadays, having that ward there and putting it down at that specific time is going to get you just enough time out of that ward to have an indication of if the enemy jungler is on time. Okay? Now, the second thing I do want to talk about is I've chosen to upgrade my teleport here instead of getting a level 1 item. Let me tell you why. Think about stage 1 of most items, right? Think about that for a minute. For Sun Wukong, I mentioned in the previous episode on his comprehensive guide that a lot of the times I like to go into Soul Eater as my second item. Well, if you examine stage 1 of Soul Eater, that is 7 power, which is 7 more damage on your auto attacks, and rounding up to 4 damage, possibly 5, on his abilities, and 5% lifesteal. 5 or 10%, I can't remember off the top of my head, actually. That's not useful, right? It is actually more useful, at least in my experience as a solo laner, to put that 300 or so gold, or any gold that you would be normally putting into a stage 1 item, and putting 300 of that towards an upgraded teleport, which reduces its cooldown by, I think, 30 seconds, and then pumping the rest into potions, which allows you to stay in lane longer. You will see a really exaggerated form of this in this particular match, and there's a specific reason why it's very exaggerated, but you'll see that I arrive just in time. I go ahead and clear the blue buff. Now, interesting to also mention, I have the Warrior's Axe here because the enemy team composition is primarily damage. right? We have a mage, we have an assassin, and we have a hunter. That's 3 damage dealers. They have 2 guardians, which means normally they would have a warrior and a guardian, but the fact that they have 2 guardians means they're going to be hitting a little less hard than the average team composition of one of each class. So I've gone for the Warriors X in this particular case because I am expecting to actually sort of see a little bit more damage despite the fact that they have the 2 guardians. We are talking about Athena here, so she actually has decent early game damage, and she can hit a little hard, so I'm still going with the Warriors X despite that. They're still a bit more damaging of a comp than I would be comfortable using Bluestone on. So then I come into the lane, right, and then I see this Athena. At this very moment, I know I've won my lane. How do I know this? There are 2 very specific reasons. 1, Athena is terrible at boxing because she doesn't have an ult that she can use in lane. Her ult causes her to go to someone else. As a result, she cannot use it on the laning opponent in solo lane. Okay, this is key because this essentially means that I, as Sun Wukong, will win every boxing match from level 5 onwards. She has a 4-level window with which to theoretically push me out and gain the level advantage. Once we both hit level 5, she will lose every boxing match unless she is ahead of me by that time, and decently ahead of me at that. Secondly, the normal solution to this problem is for her allied jungler to gank solo lane. Again, this will have to happen before level 5. It will have to be a successful gank, because once I hit level 5, it will become very difficult to gank me. The problem with Sun Wukong in solo lane, at least from the enemy's perspective, the issue with facing Sun Wukong in solo lane is his ult. Right, should the enemy jungler pop into lane, boom. All I have to do is pop my ult, unless they hit me with enough crowd control early on, which is possible but unlikely. But unless they hit me with enough crowd control early on, I can pop my ult and get out of dodge, right? I can heal up whatever damage they did to me while starting my ult, jump towards my tower, and fly away with the Bird of Nope. It's very difficult to gank Sun Wukong, especially in this very specifically disadvantageous situation with the Athena. Now, that doesn't necessarily mean that Athena is bad in lane. She just is not great at boxing due to her ult and the way it works. There is a way to make her very difficult to deal with as a solo laner, and she's going to try this a little bit into the game. And I'll talk about this, why it doesn't work in her particular circumstance, and my response to it, and why that's my response. We'll talk about that when we get to it. But at this particular point, I already know that unless I die to the first incoming gank, I've got this lane won. Okay? So that's right off the top what I know. So I'm going to go ahead and hit the full wave. Now, one of the problems with Athena, you're actually seeing this right now, is she doesn't hit the full wave with her ability, right? She's starting on the back line, which is absolutely what she should be doing here. But you can see I'm already hugely ahead of her in terms of wave clear just because my ability hits the entire wave, right? She does actually clean it up really nicely, which indicates to me already that she's built some form of damage. I'm going for poke at this point. That was the whole point of using 72 transformations. Right, and now you can actually see that Tsukiyomi hit that ward really quick right before it fades, which is exactly why I put it there. Because see, boom, right there. Right, here's Fenrir. So when I hear that ping, and I see an enemy has been detected nearby, that's my ward, right? And I can guess this already just based on this because I can see the Fenrir there, so I had an indication probably Tsukiyomi was already on his way, right? Again, junglers tend to have similar timing at the beginning. So at this particular point, I wanted to disengage, right? I don't want to be fighting the Athena here. Now, she apparently level 2 grabbed her dash, not her taunt. So I'm perfectly fine, right? I back off, Fenrir jumps in, Tsukiyomi is chasing him. I'm just trying to get some poke. I poke the Tsukiyomi, Tsukiyomi leaves. I'm not really sure why he leaves very specifically. If I had to take a guess, I think he's afraid of stealing too much farm from Athena. I'm thinking he's afraid of siphoning off some of this golden experience. It's still an odd choice, though, given the matchup. Again, it is very important for him to try to get me down below Athena in terms of gold and or experience before level 5, and we're already both level 2, right? So it is a bit of a strange decision for him to leave that quickly after having just attacked not even me, but Fenrir, right? So I'm kind of cautiously looking to do some, something, right? I was going to originally attack her. I don't. I go on ahead and clear the wave. I go on ahead and use 72 transformations because it doesn't look like Tsukiyomi is sticking around. It looks like he left for good. I'm doing a bit of a gamble with this. That was a bit of a risky decision, but it pays off. I was correct in my guess. And I get to poke her some more, and I'm looking at her build here. Now, it's very important because I already had an indication based on how she was clearing that she had to have been building damage. What I was basically checking there is confirming that, right? She has Warrior's Axe, which doesn't really surprise me. It's a good item on a lot of Guardians. And she's clearly building towards something damage. Now, she makes the mistake of building Book of Thoth later on. Once again, I will talk about that specifically. But that is a mistake for Athena very specifically as a solo laner. I'll get into that when the time comes. But I want you to notice that right now there is very clearly damage being built, which I had already guessed. And now I'm operating off of the idea that, okay, this is going to very likely be something damage. My initial guess actually is Polynomicon, which is very strong on Athena, especially early game, right? Because a lot of the times you build... Well, the nice thing about Polynomicon for Athena in the solo lane is twofold. First off, she has that thrown spear, which means she can hit Polynomicon from much farther away than a lot of other enemies. Second off, that's going to be where she's going to have the most damage, right? In the solo lane, you typically build some protections, so it's going to hit the hardest in the early game for her. Third, it has lifesteal, which is hugely important for Athena because she does not have any natural sustain. She has no way of naturally healing herself. It has to come from items, right? You can also see right there, I just wipe out the wave really quick, but of course I have that wave clear advantage over Athena. And the Fenrir, absolutely great timing there. Grabs my blue buff. Now I'm kind of poking around. I'm wondering, is Tsukiyomi going to do anything? Is Tsukiyomi over here? Right? Because again, like I said before, I'm still level 4 Sun Wukong. He still has the opportunity to gank me, and quite frankly, at this point, he probably should have. You'll notice I'm not using my 72 transformations. You'll notice I only used the Magic Cudgel, and the reason why is because I was fully expecting to be ganked, and I wanted to have the Bird of Nope available in case I was, but he doesn't actually show up. Once again, I'm just going to be using my Magic Cudgel here. She's fairly low, so I'm just, again, using my abilities here. I'm going to try to lock her out right here. I use 72 transformations to go back a little bit. And no Tsukiyomi. I've hit level 5. Now, at this particular point, it's over for her. She's not going to win this lane. I'm ahead of her at this point. I have my ult. And Tsukiyomi did not gank me. And in fact, you can see where at this particular moment, this is about to change actually, because Fenrir's about to die here. But Fenrir also happens to be ahead of Tsukiyomi at this point as well, right? So, I've now basically won this lane. Now, she does still have a shot at recovering, and she's going to take that gamble very soon. She's going to take that when she's level 5 or 6, if my memory serves me. Right, and I'm just checking to see if she's used any, if she's teleported already. The fact that she has all the same items indicates she is not teleported already. And at this particular point, I'm just clearing the wave. She backed. I'm expecting her to teleport back at this particular point because the wave is up, right? There she is. Boom. Right? She's level 5, so I'm making a mental note of that because she's going to be probably looking to use her ult somehow. Right? She fights me in the wave, which is a terrible decision for her, by the way. I get a lot of nice poke on her. I get to hit her some more with the Magic Cudgel. No, I missed this, pardon me. I'm thinking of a different time later on in the match. And I'm just perfectly willing to box her in lane with the minions and all because, again, based on where Fenrir is right here, and the fact that Tsukiyomi is a little bit behind, I'm not really expecting to be ganked at this point, right? She does a good job. She makes a valiant attempt at killing me here, but again, I have my ult, and her ult isn't really something she can use in lane. Now, at this point, I'm waiting specifically for the minion wave. It gives me a nice advantage here. I poke her, I get my Warrior's Axe trigger. I'm looking to just clear the wave, get some poke, right? At this point, I'm going to be going back. Well, I think about going back. The reason I don't go back, right, very specifically, is because I know that if I do go towards my blue buff right at that moment, then not only am I likely to miss some minions here, which I can't afford right now because she just hit level 6, and that's because she's just about finished my wave at this time, right? You can see where I'm only slightly behind her due to the fact that I haven't killed the rest of her wave, and I don't want to be behind, right? That's not really something. I get the assists from long range from my minions, I catch up in level, boom, you know, do some damage to those minions so I would get the assist credit, but then she backs off, so I clear the wave, right? If she hadn't backed off, I would have just gone to my blue buff. So at this point, I'm looking to grab the totem now because the other wave is coming up. Going for my blue buff would take too long. Notice very specifically, I'm not using any abilities for this. I'm trying to save my mana up here. I throw down my ward because I don't know where Tsukiyomi is, and I'm getting a little nervous. There's Tsukiyomi right there. You can see him. He was in right jungle, so I'm fairly comfortable now doing whatever, but she's not in lane, so I'm going to take my sweet time clearing these, right? I'm going to go ahead and stack up my mana. She's coming back around. I'm assuming she took her blue buff and went the long way around is what I'm kind of assuming at this point. So I'm going to go get mine because the waves are pushing up, and she's, again, not got great wave clear, so I actually probably have time for this in my mind. And you can see her, you know, whacking away at the minion wave there, trying her best. And you can see where I'm finishing this off just before she finishes off my wave, so I am, in fact, able to get there just in time. She backs at this particular point, right? And then I think this is where she decides to ult to mid lane, right? So the waves meet here, and I'm waiting for her to come back into lane and start attacking the waves. And she doesn't, right? She's not there. So I'm confused at this point, and I'm wondering now if she ulted somewhere else or if she's manually running somewhere else. Because if she'd ulted somewhere else, she should theoretically have popped up somewhere, right? That's normally how her ult works. So I'm clearing this Scorpion because I don't have anything else to do. My ult is up, so I'm pretty confident that I'm not going to die. And then I see her having ulted into mid lane. Now, I have no idea why it took her so long to get to mid lane, but this is her attempt at catching up to me in terms of golden experience. She ulted to mid lane very likely to try to save the Poseidon who just died. Unfortunately for Poseidon, that did not work, but that's probably one of the reasons why she ulted there. The second reason why is because by getting kills and assists in mid lane, she is very likely hoping to catch up to me in golden experience. The problem here, and I'm assuming part of the reason why it took her so long is because she was probably looking to save up gold for Book of Thoth, which is what she winds up building. The problem with this idea is that Book of Thoth stacks, and not only does Athena not have the greatest wave clear as I mentioned before, in fact only her dash actually hits the entire minion wave, unless you're really well positioned for a nice taunt. But Athena has a really hard time clearing the minion wave quickly, and additionally, when you ult into someone else's lane, you aren't guaranteed those minions. Especially in this particular case, since she ulted into the mid lane with the mage, and mages have usually pretty good wave clear. So if she hadn't built Book of Thoth, this might have worked a little bit better for her, but Book of Thoth, again, is a lot of damage, yes, and she's got good enough scaling for it, but considering how she basically has to operate, where, and again, keep in mind that she's ulted into mid lane, now that doesn't mean she can't necessarily zip over here pretty quick. If she's saved up her teleport for after she ults, which is how you really need to play Athena in the solo lane, you need to be ulting in to someone else's lane, assisting with some kill, and then teleporting back to your tower, right? A lot of solo laners, they go back to Fountain, and then they teleport right back to lane, Well, Athena makes this a little bit different. She has to, in order to really stay ahead of the enemy solo laner, she has to ult to somebody else, ideally someone soon to get a kill, grab an assist or maybe the kill itself, and then teleport to her lane. It takes a little bit longer, but she has to basically be trying to make up for the inability to box, right? She has to be stealing some farm from other lanes and teleporting back. Now, this is actually why I don't like Athena in solo lane. Yes, she can work this way, right? But at the end of the day, you are basically siphoning off the golden experience from other lanes in order to ideally bolster yourself up because you can't outbox the enemy in this particular case. There are some matchups in which Athena can. These are not really common. Basically, she can box anybody else who has a similar kind of ult or some kind of ability that doesn't necessarily directly contribute damage. A great example is she's actually decent at boxing Chang'e if she can time her taunts correctly, right? A couple of other examples would be Khepri. Ganesh she can box, right? But most warriors, with possibly the exception of Chaac, she can box Chaac. Again, if she's built correctly and plays correctly. But with the exception of Chaac, she really has a hard time boxing literally any other warrior. Due to the fact that most warriors, again, excluding Chaac, who's got the Rain of Healing, which slows down her attack speed, which she doesn't care about, the rest of them have enough damaging abilities and a damaging ult that she's not going to be able to get around. And yes, Erlang Shen's ult also does not do damage, but he does heal a huge amount off of it, which is just as good in terms of boxing her. And furthermore, if he's built Death's Toll, then he's going to outsustain her by a huge margin as well, right? Thirdly, one of the biggest factors, though, besides Book of Thoth, and my personal issues with playing Athena in the solo lane, she ulted in to a Poseidon in an effort to save him, but this isn't really the kind of person you want to be ulting as a solo lane Athena. This is what a support Athena would want to do. Okay, don't misunderstand me here. This is a very important difference in terms of Athena gameplay. A support Athena absolutely should and would have ulted in on that Poseidon in an effort to save him. A solo lane Athena does not care about the health of her allies. She's looking to pull some golden experience off of other lanes, teleport back to her lane, and bring that golden experience into, hopefully, a really good fight with the enemy solo laner. Ideally, right? That is her goal. So, she basically shot herself in the foot by ulting to the Poseidon, because he was probably not in a great position in the first place. Now, I can't necessarily attest to that, because obviously I don't know what Poseidon's health is like, but considering that you can actually see here, right, you can see where she ults, and I'm going to go back 20 seconds here, because here's Nuwa, right, and I still haven't seen Athena for a while, so I'm assuming she's clearing some of these camps or something, but here's Poseidon, right, and then Nuwa initiates on Poseidon, because he's obviously goofed something. Fenrir comes in, and then you can see the Athena popping in, right? Now, I'm not even sure she used her ult here. It looks like she dashed out from the jungle for some reason. Thinking about it now, looking at how she entered that lane, it's entirely possible she was clearing stuff in the right jungle here, which would make sense. Yeah, I thought she ulted in. I don't even think she did that. I think she just straight up wandered into the right jungle, looking at it, because if you look, because when I was playing the match originally, and I wasn't paying attention very specifically to the fine details here. I was looking at the Scorpion, I was looking at the Scorpion, I was looking at the Scorpion, and then when the Scorpion dies, I check over there, and then I see, I don't see anything at this point because I didn't see this, right? And then I'm clearing, I call missing left here because I'm not aware that this red circle is Athena, and it's at this point here when I clear this minion, when that minion dies, I am now looking here and I see, yes, here's Athena. And this is where I notice Athena's in mid lane. I assumed when I was playing the match itself that she had ulted in, but if you look at her movement pattern, it looks like she dashed in from right jungle. And this is very important because this explains my only question I had while playing the match. I'll talk about how hugely problematic this is for her team in a bit. This is a huge mistake on her part. You can see where she dashes in right there. Let me do that one more time. This is really key. Right, we have Nuwa initiating. Poseidon's goofed somehow. Fenrir comes in, and here's the Athena coming in right here. She's dashing in. You can see her moving fast and then moving slow, so she used her dash to get in there, and she's trying to save the Poseidon. But this means that she did not ult in on Poseidon. This means she was just in right jungle for who knows what unholy reason. Now, why is this a huge problem? This is a huge problem because whatever she was doing in that jungle, I'm guessing, based on how the jungle plays out eventually, and I'll talk about that in a little bit, because you'll see this as the match goes on. I'm guessing she was taking jungle camps. At the very least, I'm assuming she took this green one back here. I'm betting she dropped that and came up around here, because she was probably looking to take these harpies here, these mid-right harpies, I'm guessing was her next goal, unless she went for the oracles, which is also possible. And then when she saw Poseidon in trouble, she switched tack and went to try to save Poseidon and just happened to be too late. Either way, she was in the right jungle taking things that Tsukiyomi needs. And she is going to get a kill here. Don't get me wrong, she is going to wind up killing Fenrir in this fight, or getting Fenrir killed, one of the two. Because Tsukiyomi enters, yeah, she does get the kill on Fenrir. Now this is, on the surface, good for her. You'll see she's actually hit level 8 here, so she's able to maintain her level with me due to this, and again, due to probably the jungle farm she stole away from Tsukiyomi. But this also effectively means that Tsukiyomi isn't as far ahead as he should be, right? Fenrir takes a fall here, yes, and they're an even level now, but Tsukiyomi is now down on farm from whatever Athena took in that right jungle. And even though Fenrir's died, there's less opportunity for Tsukiyomi to capitalize on that unless he goes into our jungle, which is a fairly risky proposition for him this early in the game, right? Especially since Tsukiyomi does not have any kind of escape. So he could do that. I'm not sure what he does actually do, because obviously I'm busy farming. But I do know that Fenrir took a dive to the Athena there, and that's why she's, sort of maintaining here. However, she still split that with Tsukiyomi, as well as any minions that she killed as well. I got 100% of the golden experience here, right? So I'm upgrading this because right now, the reason I upgrade that is two reasons. First off, it does decrease the cooldown a little bit here. I'm actually going to show you just how low that cooldown is. It's 110 seconds, right? I increase this, right? You can see that this cooldown is 160. I think this is 110. It is 110, so that is a 50-second difference, right? You go from the 180 or 90 seconds on the initial teleport. I upgraded that at the beginning to bring it down to 160. It's a decent amount of seconds, 20 or 30 second difference there. It can sometimes make a huge difference. And remember, at the time I was assuming my laning opponent was going to be Sylvanas or Tsukiyomi. So I was really honestly expecting that they would be able to out-sustain me, especially the Sylvanas, who is a sustain king, right? Isn't likely to outbox Sun Wukong, but is likely to out-sustain him. So I kind of figured I would need the decreased cooldown to basically keep up with Sylvanas. But now I want the persistent teleport, because if I'm going to be keeping up with Athena's ult in the future, I'm going to need to teleport here, there, and everywhere. And being able to not only have a mere 110 seconds on that teleport, but also to have that cooldown reduced by kills and assists is really going to help me teleport around, maybe teleport to a team fight, get some kills and assists. Winning a full team fight is going to be 50 seconds off my cooldown, and then teleport back to lane. I do this later on, sort of. You'll see a miniature example of this later on. But this is my thought process right now. This is very specifically why I'm increasing persistent teleport. This is the reason why I did not rotate to mid lane. Okay? Now you have to also understand that as a solo laner, rotating is a risk. Because I'm missing out on gold and experience in that time, and because the Athena got a kill in that mid lane to maintain her golden experience approximately with that of mine, me leaving would have actually put me behind, me leaving my lane to try to rotate that, which I knew. Although at the time I was also under the assumption that she'd used her ult, which turned out to not be true. Or if she did use her ult, she used it on possibly. It's possible she ulted to someone in here. Maybe someone clearing, maybe the Denzaboru. Possibly. But regardless. Oh, I went too far. Because I have Soul Eater there. But that's why I'm increasing the teleport here. I want that persistent teleport so I can approximately match her speed with her ult. And of course, at this particular point, I want Soul Eater because I'm going to be able to outsustain her with my ult. Anyways, throwing Soul Eater on top of that is just going to be disgusting, right? Grab some more potions, and off I go. Right? Now, I'm grabbing these potions very specifically, rather than wards, for instance, because, one, like I said before, it's difficult to gank Sun Wukong as long as I have my ult up, so as long as I don't waste my ult, I'm not likely to die to a gank. Second, I want to be keeping myself in as good in health and mana as I can, because if Athena does ult somewhere, and I feel like I need to be there, that I have the opportunity to teleport there and help, then I'll want to be at good health and mana for this. Okay? That is essentially what I'm looking to do there. And at this point, I'm just looking to clear. I'm looking to build my stacks for Soul Eater. Right? I'm just looking to lock her out. Get some poke. Pull the minion aggro. I'm going to go in a little bit here. I'm looking to maybe get some more poke. She charges her dash. That's fine. She decides not to go with it, which is unfortunate because I was absolutely going to poke her more if she had. I go back for my mana buff. I didn't poke her again because, quite honestly, I was going to save up my Magic Cudgel in case Fenrir needed it here, but he didn't. He cleared it really nicely. Great job leaving that there. Now you'll notice, again, Fenrir is still level 8, right? Fenrir is now level 8. Tsukiyomi is level 7, despite the fact that Fenrir recently died. Again, this lends credence to my suspicion, and again, I can't prove this because I don't know specifically where she was. Only Athena and God know that. And possibly whoever she may have ulted to. But the fact that Fenrir is level 8, even after recently dying, and Tsukiyomi is not, does indicate that she had taken some jungle farm in right jungle. Where, specifically, I don't know. Again, my suspicion is the green buff, which isn't the biggest deal in terms of farm for junglers, but it's still some farm, especially since, quite honestly, Fenrir travels through the jungle a little bit faster than Tsukiyomi because Fenrir can jump over walls, and our Fenrir clearly is doing so at a fairly good clip because he's ahead of Tsukiyomi. Tsukiyomi, compared to a lot of other junglers with much better movement abilities, Tsukiyomi is comparatively slow. Okay? The Fenrir in this particular case is outpacing him by a decent bit, so Fenrir basically is able to gank faster and clear faster, not by much, don't get me wrong, but there's still an advantage there in the fact that Fenrir has a leap, and Tsukiyomi doesn't. And this is part of the reason why it's, in this particular instance, it's so harmful to Tsukiyomi's level that Athena very likely took some farm from the right jungle, okay? Huge problem for the Tsukiyomi. And this is really going to hurt the Tsukiyomi's future attempts, because he actually does try to gank me after level 5, which is insane. But he's also behind at that point, which is even more insane. Right over here, I'm just checking to see if her mana buff is up. It's not. She did take that, or Tsukiyomi dropped that, or somebody dropped that. Right, I'm just trying to get some delicious, clear here. She's trying to get some poke. I don't really care because, again, once I get the Soul Eater up, she's never going to beat me. right? Now, at this point, I still don't know she has Book of Thoth, so I'm still assuming that she's got some form of sustain, but I'm noticing here that she's not healing anything up. So I know she hasn't built Polynomicon, which is what I would have built if I were in her position. So I'm trying to figure out what the hell she's got, because it's certainly not Polynomicon. Now, this is a great example of why it's so difficult to gank Sun Wukong, right? I heard the chains going off. I'm going to poke him a little bit here. I'm going to poke him more with my 72 transformations. She taunts me, but way too late. I get to use most of my 72 transformations, and you can see how much damage I did to the two of them, right? Particularly Tsukiyomi here, because he's 2 levels down, obviously, from me. By the way, comparatively speaking, you'll notice the Fenrir is level 10. Now, the Fenrir probably, at this point, has figured out that he can safely ignore me, right? Tsukiyomi has just left lane with no kills and walking out in much less health, because look how much damage I did to him, right? He comes in, he's full HP here, right? I hit him with my ult, he's lost some damage from the minions, I hit him with my ult, I hit him with my 72 transformations, I hit him with my magic cudgel. He's taken 2/3 of his health, roughly speaking. That is a lot of damage for a jungler, and now he's in a much worse position, right? He's now 2 levels down, he's now down 2/3 of his health. He's got to run back to the jungle, he's got to clear some stuff, but he's not going to be ganking anyone for a little bit. That's just off the table for him now. So I'm, again, just looking to get my stacks. I'm using my potions here and my chalice to heal myself back up, because I want to be relatively fresh. I want to stay in lane. I would really like to finish building these stacks before I go back to Fountain. Now you'll notice I went up to poke her without fear, because once again I did do so much damage to Tsukiyomi. I'm extremely confident he isn't even remotely interested in ganking me again in the next 5-ish minutes. So that's perfectly safe. She comes in here to throw a ward down. That's fine. I'm going to clear the wave. I'm going to, again, get more of these delicious stacks. Right, you'll notice I didn't try to lock her out that time. I'm more interested in the stacks at this point. So, now I'm looking for some poke. You'll see I'm fully healed at this point, right? And I'm looking to do some more damage to her. And I even commit right in the middle of her shield wall. She's going to taunt me here. Yep, and I'm going to take some damage here, but I have my ult. Now, I'm not worried about using my ult here, because once again, Tsukiyomi isn't likely to gank me at this point. He probably has gone back to heal at this point, but in all honesty, at this particular point in time, I'm still 2 levels up on him, and the Athena is so low on health that as long as I still have 72 transformations up, I'm fine. I finish grabbing this, right, and I'm going to go back, I'm going to clear the Scorpion, I'm going to clear my blue buff. This is going to be some golden experience for me, which is exactly what I need right now. I'm trying to get a lead on Athena, so that way if she does ult, I can teleport there and be effective. Because I know for a fact that if she ults and I don't, when she ults, if I don't notice it immediately, I'm going to be late to the party. And given the fact that I can only teleport to wards and towers, I'm likely going to be teleporting somewhere a bit far away and be late to the party anyways. Now, it's at this point that I check what she's built very specifically, right? Because now I've got my stacks. I've just finished my Soul Eater. I'm wondering what she's got. And she has good old Breastplate of Valor, and she's got Book of Thoth. Right now, she's almost done stacking Book of Thoth. That's not really a problem for me. Again, I'm ahead of her at this point. You can actually see I'm a good 800 or so gold ahead of her. I'm almost 1,000 gold ahead. And the fact that she has her 3rd item here, now that's due to the fact that she's obviously teleported back and everything. But this also, once again, lends credence to my personal current running theory that she went into the jungle to steal some farm. And overall, another great thing about Soul Eater is the 10% penetration. I'm okay with her having this, right? She built this for the cooldowns. She built this because it's going to give her a little bit of power when combined with Book of Thoth. It's a good pickup, right? Given that she has Book of Thoth. I still don't think she should have built Book of Thoth in the first place, but it's a decent enough pickup, right? But this is where I'm checking this. I'm also kind of looking at what everyone else is building. It is very interesting that Sylvanas has the Mannequin Scepter. I'm kind of making a bit of a mental note of this, because this can hurt, right? Especially since he does actually have a kill, so he's actually, theoretically, he does theoretically pose some sort of threat. And my next thing I'm checking is Atlas, and it's very interesting, the contrast. And this is one of the reasons why, as a support, Sentinel's gift is important. This is just a brief aside. This has nothing to do with Sun Wukong. But it's just really interesting to notice that he is 600 gold down from Atlas, despite clearly being approximately level ahead. And the level ahead is because he's got a kill and Atlas has died once. But even with Atlas dying once, and Sylvanas having an entire kill all to himself, and the Atlas having 0 assists, he's still 600 entire gold ahead of Sylvanas. It's just very interesting to see. But, you know, beyond that, you can also see, even though Tsukiyomi is only 1 level down from Fenrir, Fenrir is 1100 gold approximately ahead of him, right? Which is, again, pretty substantial. It's how Fenrir has gotten away with evolving or slapping a glyph onto Jotun's Wrath. Now, it's also very interesting to note that Fenrir has gone for a more mixed build here. He's clearly going for a hybrid auto-attack ability build, which is great on Fenrir, by the way. Tsukiyomi has clearly devoted his whole damage into abilities. He's going to be building Hydra's Lament here to take advantage of his passive. But he's building, you know, Transcendence, and he's building Transcendence from behind, so this is going to hurt him later on. But other than that, it's not really... There's nothing really else that's particularly noticeable, other than the fact that the Poseidon has clearly been doing some great farming, because he's level 12, Nuwa is level 11, she's got a little bit more gold, so clearly she's been probably pulling... That's a good question. I can't tell if she's been pulling from jungle or wave clear more than Poseidon. Not a big difference. Danzaboro is ahead of Scotty at this point, right? And that's because he's got the benefits of sustain with Death's Toll. Scotty doesn't have matching sustain with Bluestone. So these are kinds of things I'm looking at. And as a solo laner, you do want to kind of keep an eye on what the enemy hunter is doing, comparatively speaking, because they're going to most likely be the ones killing you late game, right? Just something to kind of keep in mind there. Something that is kind of important to just know about in general. So I'm just looking to clear these waves. I'm, again, not really at risk of dying here. I've got 72 transformations. I'm going to be backing at this point because she is likely going to hit me pretty hard next time. I don't know where Tsukiyomi is. And even if I had 72 transformations, it wouldn't necessarily save me, right? So I'm starting my teleport back. And I'm going to be grabbing very specifically the Horrific Emblem. I really should have bought potions. I actually completely forgot to, but it's not really that big of a deal. Mostly. So, you know, clear those minions. I have Genji's Guard, of course, because I'm against a magical laning opponent. So I grab Genji's Guard. And one of the reasons that it's not so important that I didn't buy the potions is because now that I've got Soul Eater and Genji's Guard, quite honestly, while potions would be nice in this particular circumstance, again, due to my desire to maintain a certain amount of health and mana to make sure that I can keep up with the Athena, the lack of potions doesn't hurt me too much, because now I have the MP5 from Genji's Guard and the Lifesteal from Soul Eater. You can see I'm actually able to really press her really hard here at this point, because I'm just hitting so much harder. And again, I can do this with confidence because I have my ult up, and she has no response to my ult. She's got nothing, right? At this particular point, I'm going to be trying to look into maybe killing her. I'm trying to bait her with attacking the tower, right? I go on ahead and do some damage here. She gets a good taunt on me. I get a lot of nice damage here. It was a really good taunt, actually. But I have my Chalice, so I'm just going to heal that back up. She's backing at this point, and now I'm concerned a little bit, because if she decides she's going to ult somewhere... Now, this is an interesting moment, right? So what I'm doing here... I almost forgot this happened. So she's backing here, and I'm concerned, right? And Nuwa Hall's missing. Okay, I'm not concerned, right? I'm assuming he's been missing for... Now, she actually calls this a little late. It's not a big deal, but theoretically speaking, if you clear a full wave and the enemy landing opponent isn't there, you probably should call missing at that point, right? So I'm, doing this, and I'm looking around, because I'm wondering, where's she going to show up? And boom, here's Poseidon. Now, this is where Poseidon loses his lane. Very specifically. Alright, think about it. So, what I'm guessing happened is the Nuwa called a little late, because what probably happened is Poseidon cleared the previous wave. The wave is meeting right now, so he cleared the previous wave, went left. She probably figured he was doing this Scorpion with someone, didn't call it immediately. That's fine. Totally understandable, I do the same thing. She saw his wave coming in here, she saw her wave coming up here, and it was only when they were pretty close to meeting that she called this, because the actual moment she called missing, right? You know, I'm boxing Athena under tower, I get some poke, right? She calls missing right here. Now, at this particular point, she sees the enemy minion wave, and Poseidon's not there. So, actually, retrospectively, she called it at a decent time, okay? I'll take back my statement earlier that she was late on the call. It was actually a fine call. I just wasn't paying enough attention. So she calls missing. I'm thinking to myself, all right, so he is just recently missing because that's the usual assumption. And here he is. So like I said, he cleared that previous wave and immediately zipped over here. And he threw his lane at this point because, again, notice that the Nuwa is about to clear the wave. Nuwa has good wave clear. Better than Poseidon, in fact. And she's also got minions to press the tower really hard as well. So unless Tsukiyomi is literally right there, which I don't know where Tsukiyomi is at this point. Yeah, I have no idea where he is at this particular point in time. But he's now in my lane, right? And he lost time moving here, and Sun Wukong versus Poseidon is not a match in his favor, right? He whiffs his Whirlpool because his only hope really of escaping Sun Wukong is to block his Sun Wukong's 72 transformations with his Whirlpool, because you can't use 72 transformations in the Whirlpool. The fact that I'm already out of his Whirlpool and he missed the wave, he's straight up dead. He dies here, right? I go ahead and use Horrific Emblem, he uses his ult, I come back in, I ult him, he's dead. He is essentially way behind now Nuwa, right? He has just died. He might be level 14 from my minion, well, technically Athena's minions, sure. But he's dead for 40 whole seconds. Do you see that wave at the mid-Phoenix? The waves are going to meet by the time before he even respawns. He's going to miss an entire wave, and his tower is in a position to take a ton of damage because, again, the Nuwa can really press this depending on where Tsukiyomi is. Now, she's backed off because she has no idea where Tsukiyomi is, probably, right? And that's fine. That's the correct choice. But now what I've got here is a low HP Athena who is trying to save the now dead Poseidon, right? So I'm looking at this as an opportunity to kill her. You can see I come very close, but I actually wind up goofing that move right there. If I had been slightly closer, she'd be dead, right? I barely whiffed that. I have to get out because I'm taking too much damage, and I also don't know where Tsukiyomi is, but my ult is down, so I don't want to press my luck, right? That is very specifically why I backed off there. My ult is down, don't know where Tsukiyomi is, I'm out of dodge, right? Get me out of there. I'm not taking that risk. I don't have any physical protections at this point, so Tsukiyomi will hit me hard. Okay? If there had been a physical laning opponent, I probably would have pressed that, because I would have had Glad Shield, I would have had some physical protections to better withstand the tower, to better withstand Tsukiyomi. I don't, so I back off. I'm okay with her living with a sliver of health left. I killed Poseidon, which is a huge boost for me. You can see where I'm already about to hit level 15, right? Because I killed Poseidon. Poseidon was pretty close to my level. I got her whole wave. I almost killed her. She clearly doesn't have teleport up, or either that or she ulted to someone else. I don't know specifically what she did, right? And it turns out that Tsukiyomi... Now, this is actually a very interesting development here as well, because this winds up becoming important later on in the match. You can see Tsukiyomi trying to steal this away from Fenrir. I'm not sure why. This is a mistake on Tsukiyomi's part, and this is where he really seals the deal for his own career in this match. He tries to steal the Scorpion from Fenrir. Now, I don't know if he succeeds or not, because our buffs on this side are down. So, I actually, if you see the... It's tough to see from here. If you look really close, you can see that little white dot there above the blue buff, and above the yellow buff. Fenrir got the Scorpion. So Tsukiyomi failed to steal the Scorpion, first off. Second off, based on his positioning, he really committed to that. I'm assuming he ulted. But here he is, trying to steal the Scorpion away from a Fenrir that is one level higher than him on our side of the jungle, with Nuwa and Atlas here, right? This is relevant. Poseidon has just respawned. So Poseidon's nowhere to be seen. Athena backed recently, and she could ult to him, sure. But here's Atlas, here's Nuwa, and he would have seen these two be here because they just finished clearing the wave, so he knows they're at least roughly in the area. And then he's trying to steal a Scorpion away from a Fenrir that's got the advantage in level. I have no idea what Tsukiyomi was thinking here. This is insanity. It really is. I have no idea why that occurred to him. I'm betting he was really banking on the presence of Athena, ulting in on him. And I'm wondering, possibly, if Athena communicated to him that she can ult in on him if he wanted to go for the Fenrir. Because if he can kill the Fenrir here, or equally as useful, if the Athena can kill the Fenrir, then Tsukiyomi can make a recovery. Athena will be able to make a bit of a recovery. She'll be able to at least start catching up to me with that, right? Whether it be an assist or a kill. So I'm wondering if possibly the Athena encouraged this, but it's impossible to know because she does ult in to this situation. She actually, she ults in pretty soon. Here's Poseidon attacking Atlas. You can see Athena just ulted in here, and it's at this point that I'm like, alright, now I gotta come into this. Let me finish this totem off, and then I'm gonna come in on this, right? Now I'm coming in on this because right now it's a 3v3, but I also don't know right now where Sylvanas is, and based on the fact that Scotty is, back at her tower, I also don't know where Danzaburou is, and I'm kind of concerned Danzaburou is on his way because he can rotate pretty damn quick if he uses his rocket, so I'm concerned. So even though Tsukiyomi dies, I'm coming into this, right? And I'm going to go right for the Poseidon because, again, I really want to stop this guy. He dies, right? I get that kill. Now we're looking to kill her, and this is going to be absolutely fantastic. Now I ult here just to make sure that if the Fenrir missed, that I would be able to get her because she was trying to charge up the dash. I don't know if she actually got it off and we interrupted it. I don't know. Even watching it back, I still don't know. I wasn't going to take any chances because this is, going to be solidifying my lead. They do kill her. Great. I'm going to, at this point, commit to this Scorpion. And you'll notice I'm just going to be auto-attacking this. I'm not using any abilities here. The primary reason why is because I'm still concerned about the possibility of Danzaburou. Alright, Danzaburou is doing okay for himself. He's level 13, Scotty's level 12, so he's ahead. Right, I see him right over there now. But I don't see this immediately. You'll notice I just used my Tiger there. That's because I just saw the Danzaburou come back here. That's when I used my Tiger. He was actually visible on map a little bit before. I just didn't notice. But the instant I used my Tiger, that was the moment I saw that Danzaburou wasn't coming in, and I was safe to use that. Clear the wave. I'm expecting the wave to take the tower at this point. I'm going to go and steal her Scorpion to take that, basically, primarily to take that away from her. She teleports back to the tower right before it dies, which is a bit unfortunate, but my ult is up in 20 seconds, so if I really want the tower, it would be pretty easy for me to just ult in the tower and take it that way. So I'm just going to clear the wave here. Right, that's all I'm really looking to do here. She hits me pretty hard, that's fine. Still just looking for that delicious wave. There it is. And now I'm just going to go on ahead and box her a little bit here. I goof my 72 transformations. I was trying to do the Tiger. I got a little enthusiastic and went with the Bird of Nope. You hate to see it. Tsukiyomi shows up. I ult. Again, reiterating why it's so problematic to try and gank Sun Wukong. Why he's such a problem to deal with. Fenrir comes in, so I'm turning around. Now, obviously, I heard the Fenrir come in. I don't know why the Fenrir came in. I know he probably figured I needed help. And it is unfortunate that he felt that way. He is ahead. I was wondering, I don't know if he figured that there was a good fight here. I did not have the health for that, unfortunately. But he does do some good damage to Tsukiyomi here. Right? I don't chase the Tsukiyomi because I'm not 100% sure that I can actually get away with anything at this particular point in time. But I figure they're on my blue buff. Right? They are not. I'm not sure why. Tsukiyomi went to mid lane. Nuwa is looking like she's about to get ganked, but Athena's not there, and I want to take that tower because that's going to free me up and still sort of lock her in. It's going to put some nice pressure on her to make sure that my wave doesn't go too far past that. So I'm coming back in here, right? I also don't see Athena. I have no idea where she is, but I'm figuring right now if I really needed to, I can just teleport in. My ult is back up in 30 seconds. Checking her blue buff, it's not there. Here's her new wave. I clear this. We're great, right? There's 84 HP on this tower. Take that out. I still have no idea where Athena is. There she is right there, but I'm just going to take it manually. And at this point, I'm just going to be looking to pressure her a little bit. I, again, goof my 72 transformations, but I'm 2 levels up on her, so I've got a pretty good shot at this. I've got 4,000 gold racked up. I have my ult back. I'm just trying to weaken her down, so that way when I do go back to the fountain, I'm not expecting to kill her here. This is obviously impractical. But what I want to do is weaken her down to the point where when I go back to fountain, she's not going to be trying to ult in on anyone. That's what I want to make sure of. Okay? That is very specifically why I'm sticking around here. I want to make sure that she knows that she's not ulting in anywhere. Because if she does, I'm going to take that tower. Now, this surprises me, right? I don't know Sylvanas is on his way here, but this is where I'm bailing out. Because if Sylvanas is here, there's a pretty good chance that somebody else is on their way, right? I'm personally, once again, assuming Tsukiyomi, especially since Sylvanas is fairly aggressive about this. Now, the reason why I turn around is because I see Atlas coming in. And I'm level 18 at this point, okay? I'm 2 levels up on Athena, I'm 3 levels up on Tsukiyomi, and I'm 4 levels up on Sylvanas. So I see the Atlas on his way over here, because there's no other reason he'd come left. So I'm looking to now maybe stall it out, right? He comes up this way, I'm like, alright, do I want to fight this? How are we going to do this? Atlas goes in on the... Now, what really solidifies this is the fact that Athena just ulted to Poseidon. So now we have a problem. Right, Nuwa is getting pressed by an Athena-Poseidon combination, but that means that Sylvanas is now alone. Originally, I thought it was going to be a 2v2, Atlas and I versus Sylvanas and Athena. It's now a 2v1, so I'm looking to just kill the Sylvanas really quick. Hopefully in exchange for Nuwa, but it turns out that here's Tsukiyomi. Okay, that's fine. I am still looking to do some damage here. I'm still hitting pretty hard because obviously I'm massively fed at this point. And then the enemy team comes in here, right? I'm just trying to survive for 6 seconds so that way I can get my ult. Nuwa kills Sylvanas. You know, we've got a whole fight going on here. And Poseidon's trying to lock me down with the 72 transformations again. I use my ult. And I use my ult very specifically out of their vision range so that way they don't know. You can actually see Tsukiyomi falling for this, which is great. I'm going to try to follow after him, but he leaves. I'm going to go for Athena at this point because they just took out Poseidon. There goes Athena. Great, Tsukiyomi's still sticking around. So I'm going to be chasing him down with the Nuwa because he's really determined to get something out of this. Right? She goofs that a little bit. She just barely misses her minions. So I'm going to come around this way and I'm going to be looking to kill him here because at this particular point, I'm so far ahead. Atlas is there. Nuwa is there. There's no risk here for me, right? So I do that, and now I'm just going to be going back. Now I'm going back here. My original plan, you can see where this changed. I killed Tsukiyomi here, and my original plan is to take out these jungle camps. But then I notice this mess in left lane. So I know, alright, I gotta go back to Fountain. I gotta teleport to my lane, because this is gonna get real ugly really quickly, right? Just no way that happens. So I'm gonna speed buy my items. I need some physical protections. I go very specifically with the Hide of the Urchin at this particular point, because, in all honesty, knowing that Athena has Book of Thoth and that she's going to be hitting a little bit harder than I would normally expect, I want the extra magic protections that I wouldn't get from Pridwin. Pridwin is 30-30, right? Whereas a fully stacked Hide of the Urchin is 51-51, which is a little bit better, right? So this is kind of in very specific response to the Book of Thoth. Secondarily, as I mentioned in the previous episode, this is a great item on Sun Wukong, and we're ahead at this point. I'm very ahead at this point. So I'm not really concerned about grabbing those 7 stacks. And here I am just in time to save my tower, clear that really quick. I have no idea what the hell's going on in right lane. I've just seen Danzabar really doing a great job, which is unusual because that's not the best matchup on paper for Danzabar. He has a slate advantage, but he's definitely putting it to work. He's doing really well over there. So I'm just trying to stack up at this point. I'm trying to get to level 20. Okay, that is very specifically my goal right now. I see where the Athena is and the Tsukiyomi. They just respawned because Nuwa just ulted, and Poseidon's kicking around somewhere in the middle. So I know I have time, right? I'm not that concerned about the time here. I just want to hit level 20. Hit level 20 nice and early and maybe push a really good team fight. That's my goal right now. So I'm just clearing stuff. And at this particular point in time, I'm going to throw down a ward. Going to try to steal some enemy farm. Right, I'm going to go for the Scorpion because it's nice and safe. I see her clearing her blue buff. I was going to go for it, but then I saw a drop. I'm going to fail to poke her. I completely miss. And I'm level 20. Right, great. Tsukiyomi is here. I'm looking to start a fight, so I go on to him. Now, I'm looking to start a fight because I'm the first person in the match to hit level 20. I have almost full build. I'm down 1.5 items. Calling the first stage of the starter item a half item. I'm 4 levels up on this guy. I'm looking for a fight. I am looking for a scrape. Their biggest person on their team, Danzaburou, he's dead for another 4 seconds. So I'm in a really great position. Poseidon's about to clear mid lane, so he's busy. So I'm looking at possibly a 2v1 that I'm very likely to win because I am so hugely ahead at this point. Right, Athena's probably going to come in and try to help him, obviously. Right, they're going to get some confidence from it being a 2v1. He's already half dead, though, so that's fine. I slap him down, and I'm looking to just take him out. Here's the Athena, as I expected, right? And now at this particular point, I goof my Master's Will, and then there's Sylvanas, there's Poseidon. Alright, I ult just a second too late to avoid that damage, but still. You know, here they all are. Here's Fenrir coming in, so I'm just looking to rejoin Fenrir. Now, I'm expecting to get out until that Sylvanas has a fire pull, right? And then here's Danzaburou's ult, so I get slapped, right? Here's Fenrir coming in. Absolute hero, honestly. Doesn't even hesitate. We are outmatched here, 3 to 4. Although I'm once again hugely fed. Fenrir's been doing a pretty good job for himself, and Nuwa is also ahead too. So this is actually a decent fight, especially since who is this? Danzaburou here? No, that's not Danzaburou. That's Poseidon. He's taking a lot of damage right here, right? So I'm looking to kill Poseidon because he's obviously a huge source of damage for them. So if we can kill Poseidon, that's going to be great. But he gets to the tower, right? You can see where he's going to get to the tower well before I can get anything done. Right, and I'm healing obviously a lot of HP off of my Soul Eater. He turns around, he slaps me with the wave, and you can see where he's going to easily get there. I could dive him, but considering now Nuwa is getting attacked by the Danzaburou, and I know if she dies, I'm absolutely doomed, I'm going to go after Danzaburou instead. Now, what I am surprised by is seeing Danzaburou run. Okay, this surprises me greatly, because what they don't know is that we have a nice advantage here, because he leaves, I turn around, and he's leaving. I'm assuming that Nuwa slapped him with minion explosions, now he's paranoid, so he's trying to escape. I'm looking to go after him, and there's... Okay, here's a fun thing. That has to be Danzaburou. He was clearly going in this direction. He was clearly going to be using the leaf for the speed boost. I could hear it activate. I know this is him. So, I attack. Now, he was clearly trying... You can see him where he was very clearly going to try to fool me. Really quick here. You can see the attempt, right? He uses his leaf right there. You can actually see it. And then he's moving towards me because he's expecting me to not know that's him. So I attack this leaf because I know it's him. And then I'm just going to absolutely slap this guy down. Uses his Saki. It's not enough. Nuwa ults him, so I know he's dead. Poseidon should not have come back in here because now I'm gonna get him. Right? I've got him dead to rights. I use the Master's Will to slow him down, and boom. The Magic Cudgel. Now, at this particular point, only Sylvanas is left alive. Boom. She'd already been working on him. Slap him down. No problem. 4 stacks on my Hide of the Urchin. I'm clearing this jungle camp for the healing, exclusively. That is 100% the only reason I'm doing this. Right? Great for me. Do the same for this. Clear this. Get some healing. I'm going to be looking to press this tower. I probably shouldn't be. I probably should have gone back, but I have my ult, so I'm feeling confident. So I'm going to go on ahead and do some damage here. Right, Athena's coming back up in 10 seconds. I should be leaving at this point. This is the point at which I should be leaving. Alright, the enemy team is about to respawn in less than 15 seconds. Right, I clear this wave. I can probably get away with this wave, right? Athena hasn't respawned. I use my ult. Athena respawns. She's likely going to teleport here. I'm pretty sure her teleport is up. I commit to this, though, because, oh, here's my dummy here, right? This is basically the height of arrogance. So I'm attacking this, and then she shows up, and I'm leaving because I'm aware of the fact that, hey, the enemy team could be coming, but I decide I'm going to get really arrogant, and I'm going to go for this blue buff, and this is going to kill me, okay? 100%. My hubris here kills me, because here's Athena, and I'm like, I can, handle this. I'm out of here, right? No problem. I stun her, and then here comes the entire enemy team, right? If I had just left, I would not die here. Right, this was pure arrogance on my part because of how well that last fight. I didn't need to die there. There was no reason for me to die there. Even if I hadn't turned around for the blue buff, even if I had just left when Athena first showed up, that would have been fine. I still would have been able to get out just fine. But no, I got cocky. That is 100% what that is. So I'm buying Brawler Speedstick, by the way, here very specifically because I didn't get Tainted Steel. They have Sylvanas. Danzabaru has the healing he gets from his Saki, and I'm pretty sure he's building... Well, I already know he's got Death's Toll, but I'm pretty confident he's probably going to build more Lifesteal. Most hunters do. And there's, of course, Tsukiyomi's self-heal from his passive, right? So I know there's a lot of self-healing on their team, so I'm very specifically looking to get Brawler Speedstick. I do get my Sundering Axe first because that's going to be more protections, so it's going to help me stay alive a little bit longer, right? It's going to be more healing because that's 2% of my protections rather than the flat, like, 40 HP. So I actually stop and build Sundering Axe first. Now, Fenrir does the absolutely correct thing. Actually, let me really quickly talk about the enemy builds here. But Fenrir is doing the absolutely correct thing here by defending this lane from the Trebuchet. That's absolutely what he should be doing here. Now, at this point, I'm checking the enemy build, because I am curious as to how much lifesteal Danzabaru is building. He's got crits, he's got Aussie. 100% I need the Brawler Speedstick, right? Because I want to check right before I commit to it, which is the second reason I sold it for the Sundering Axe, right? I'm not 100% sure they're going hardball on the healing, but you can see, look at this Danzabaru. We've got Death's Toll, Aussie, crits. He's healing a lot, right? And, I mean... again, Sylvanas has his healing. Tsukiyomi has a self-heal. We've got 3 people looking to do some pretty serious healing. Athena finally has built Polynomicon. So yeah, I'm going to need Brawler Speedstick. So, I'm going to be, I'm just praying for poor Fenrir here because, he's in danger. And then Atlas shows up, which, amen for that, because Fenrir did need it. The Athena is actually hitting a little hard at this point, because she does have Polynomicon, she does have Book of Thoth. She's not really defensive, because her only real protections are a partially complete magic protection item. I think she winds up with Genji's Guard, if I remember correctly, but she's got, just as a complete protection item, she's only got Breastplate, which of course isn't a whole lot. So I'm looking to, figure out what she's doing. She's leaving, and I don't want to fight her under tower, because I don't know where the rest of the enemy team is, and you only make that arrogant mistake once per match. So I'm just looking to get some gold at this point, because I'm trying to rush to Brawler Speedstick at this point, because I'm now keenly aware of how much healing they are really building. And I want that Brawler Speedstick. That's going to be very important. I'm looking to press the tower a little bit. Now, the only reason I'm willing to press the tower is because I have my ult up and I have Atlas here. I'm not actually going to be committing as hard to it as I did before. I'm going to stop by and go for the mana buff because I don't have mine. Might as well take hers. The enemy team shows up. I'm not terribly surprised. I'm not terribly concerned. First off, I have my ult. Second off, you can see where everyone but Scotty's over here. And again, theoretically, this is a 5v4, but we're also fairly ahead, so I'm not that concerned. So I'm going to ult out of here because, again, there's the Poseidon ult, and he times it just right again. It's just a second too late, but I'm going to be trying to take out this Poseidon very specifically first. He wastes his Aegis, which is lovely. I almost kill him, but I think the Nuwa kills him with her ult. Yeah, she does. And so at this particular point, I'm just trying to make sure that the enemy damage dies. So my next target is Danzabaru, right? I take a brief moment to kill him, and you can actually see him, you can see where I noticed him really quick, right? So, here I go after him. You can see right here, he runs... Actually, he's being followed by minis. You can see how low he is, and I know for a fact I can kill him. He's got no protections, so here I go, right? I do some damage to him, and then I just pop over here, take him out, and then, boom, gone. And now, unfortunately, this did cost Nuwa her life. If I kept on the Danzabaru, she probably would have lived, but now I'm alone over here. Fenrir's in the lane. He's probably trying to heal up. But Scotty's on our way, so I'm willing to commit to this, right? I'm just trying not to get shot too much by Danzabaru. There he goes. Right, and now we have Athena back over here. She clearly backed at some point and ulted back in. There goes Sylvanas. Now it's just Athena. That's fine. Right? Clear the wave, take the tower. We guaranteed have this tower. Poseidon comes back up in 20 seconds, right? We absolutely have this. Athena's not going to stop us at this point. She does not have the option to do so. We wipe this real quick, which is great. And I'm fully confident we can take this. I have my ults up. We've got Scotty here. Scotty's level 18, right? I'm going to pop my decoy in there. He's going to go gung-ho. It's going to be fantastic. They follow my lead. This is lovely, right? I do some damage to Athena, I see Poseidon there, I don't care. I probably should have, right? Because what happens here is Athena slaps down Fenrir, and then Poseidon slaps me down. So I got accidentally arrogant here. I genuinely thought that we were going to be able to take that. I take a bit more damage from Poseidon than I was personally expecting, but, you know, they take out Scotty right afterwards. It's fine. I have Brawler's Beatstick at this point, so that's a really good thing for me. I actually have full build now. So, at this particular point, I'm not too concerned. We actually you can see how close we were to actually taking it, so I wasn't that far off, right? I just underestimated how much damage, specifically Poseidon was going to do to me, and how much damage Athena was going to do to Fenrir. I upgrade my Horrific Emblem, obviously. And I picked Horrific Emblem, by the way, just kind of specifically while I'm waiting to respawn here. I picked it because Sylvanas has auto attacks. I mentioned earlier he has Mannequin Scepter. That's one of the reasons I built that. 2, Danzaboto obviously has auto attacks. 3, Poseidon has auto attacks. He might be focusing on abilities, but he's got pretty decently hard-hitting auto attacks. 4th, again, as I mentioned before, Tsukiyomi has decent auto attacks as well. So we have, out of the entirety of the enemy team, 4 of them have good auto attacks, even if they're not focusing on them. And also, on top of that, I mentioned earlier that Tsukiyomi does not have an escape. Neither does Poseidon, for that matter. And in fact, Danzaboto's escape just makes him run a little faster, and Sylvanas has no escape. So all of the people that I just mentioned who have good auto attacks also get really crippled by not being able to run fast, i.e. Horrific Curse. So, for those reasons very specifically, I built this. Now, you know, I obviously am clearing some stuff. I try to interrupt this. We do wind up getting it. Absolutely. That was mostly the Fenrir who got that, by the way. And then we're just trying to commit to this to try to take out some people. Poseidon ults. I get to brush off most of that. So now I'm clear to go on ahead and commit pretty hard to this. Nuwa wipes the Poseidon, right? And now I'm trying to take out this Athena. Now, I want to take out the Athena because I know if we start another fight and she's not dead, she's just going to ult in. Because I'm pretty sure her ult is up at this point. Right, so I'm looking to commit really damn hard to this. She whiffs her taunt. I don't even know what that was. Take her out. And I've got my decoy here, so I'm fine to try to take this. Scotty absolutely does the correct thing and comes in with me. Right, my decoy leaves to go chase Sylvanas of all people. Doesn't make a difference. Right, but I don't want to commit here. Right, I don't want to commit because right now they still have a tower up that I want to take. And I don't think with Danzaboto alive, Danzaboto being the scary one on their team, that we can necessarily take the Titan. So I want to take this tower here, and I'm just going to go right in. I have a health shield bit from Hide of the Urchin. It's just a tower. I'm running my Chalice right now. It's whatever, right? Danzaboto is pressing Atlas, but Poseidon's about to come back up. Tsukiyomi is already up. We're not really in a position to be able to take the mid-Phoenix, so Nuwa calls Fire Giant. Actually, yeah, Nuwa calls Fire Giant first. I completely concur with this because right now they're not in a position to press that, right? They've got to defend against the fire minions, right? And also my ult is back up. So once you'll notice, this is actually really important. You'll notice, even though I have my ult up, I don't use it until Atlas starts attacking the Fire Giant. The reason why is because I want the Atlas to become the priority after I pop up into the air. So once that Atlas uses his ability, and once I finish flying through the air from the Fire Giant, that's when I pop up. My decoy is doing damage to the Fire Giant, so it's not like I'm not contributing, and then I get to fully heal. And then there's a Tsukiyomi here, which the Fenrir fortunately noticed and took care of, but, you know, I was very surprised that he was able to get over here and try that. I mean, I knew he was in mid lane, but I didn't think it would even occur to him that we would be here, right? Now, you'll notice I didn't chase those leaves. That's because I didn't know at that point which one they were. You could tell by the way they were spread out that he'd used it a couple of seconds ago, so he could have been any one of those leaves. So I wasn't going to go on a wild goose chase. I'm trying to heal up right now, right? Because right now, I'm seeing the potential for the final push, right? We have Phoenixes down, right? The Phoenix on the right just came back up, but Atlas is going to push that down with fire minions. So we're in a really good spot. The left Phoenix is still down and is going to be for quite a few seconds. We've got the Fire Giant buff. I'm really confident that we can take this, right? Atlas and Scotty clear that right Phoenix. Who is that over there? Sylvanas? Yep. He's trying to, you know, keep them off. I'm looking to go take out this Poseidon very quickly. And Fenrir thinks the same thing. I almost, you know, do the same thing, but I decide, you know what, I'm going to help the Fenrir with this Phoenix, it's a little bit more important. Tsukiyomi ults him. Alright, let's stop and take care of the Tsukiyomi, but he wipes this Fenrir. And then I'm looking to now get out, right? In theory. Now, I don't leave because I have another arrogant moment where I'm trying to kill the Tsukiyomi really quick before the enemy team gets here because I don't know where they are. I figured they were chasing Atlas. They were not chasing Atlas. They turned around and killed me. Right? I thought I had more time than that. It was still a move of arrogance, but not quite as bad as the first time. Now I sell my Chalice here and also my Sentry Ward so I can grab the power boosting potions because now they're all done with having Phoenixes. They don't have any Phoenixes. Our next push is very likely to be our last. We're very likely on the verge of victory here. Okay? They're chasing down Nuwa. This is actually why they chase down Nuwa. It's pretty important for them to take out Nuwa at this point, because if they don't, then we're going to have a full 5-man, and they can't withstand that. They might have caught up to us in terms of level, but they're behind us in terms of gold. Right? They do successfully take out the Nuwa here, so they're feeling pretty confident, which is fair enough, right? And that was the move they needed to do right then and there. They really needed her to die, right? Just no two ways about it. So, at this particular point, I'm trying to figure out where I'm going to go, right? They're attacking the Gold Fury. I've got allies, Atlas and everyone trying to stop them, right? Scotty dies. This is a really grim situation here for us. We're not going to lose from this, because we still obviously have so many structures up that they can't possibly take the Titan. Well, possibly they could, but it's very unlikely. But right now, I'm just trying to weaken down their damage here, right? Poseidon unloads his full kit on me, which is great news. You can see I'm only healing 31 because Divine Ruin. Right, I'm doomed. And, great move by the Poseidon. The Poseidon did a really great job there, locking me down. I was trying to take out Tsukiyomi so that way they would have less damage available to them. Right now, I'm trying to figure out who has the anti-heal. It winds up actually being very specifically, both of them have anti-healing. But yes, I was trying to inhibit their ability to counteract that, right? Fenrir was trying the same thing there. Nuwa's going to try the same thing. This is one of those situations where everyone went in by themselves individually, which is unfortunate. Great Aegis, by the way. And then she uses this ult, and this ult is all she needs to kill the Danzaburo, which hugely kills their momentum. They're going to take this tower, theoretically speaking. I believe they take this. They don't even take this tower. They back off. I thought they took this tower. But they don't even take the tower because Danzaburo is dead. She kills the Poseidon. Right? Absolutely fantastic job by this Nuwa, by the way. So now their momentum is killed. They're not going to do anything with that teamfight victory they got. And once again, I'm still looking for that final push. Now, my idea here with the Sentry Ward, and you're going to see me run up there like some kind of lunatic, is I want to plant that Sentry Ward and then teleport to it when the enemy team is in a team fight or doing something else. I'm actually expecting them to go onto the Fire Giant pretty soon when that comes back up because the Fire Giant is almost up. So while they're going for the Fire Giant, I'm kind of going to try to set up a ward and teleport to it. That's my plan. Now, Scotty notices that Tsukiyomi's over here by himself, at least apparently. I'm going to go over and help her with this just in case he isn't, but she takes care of that whole problem and there's no one else over here, which is what I'm going over this way for. This is why I path this way. I want to make sure there's no one else over here. Okay? Now, I see Atlas has seen Athena and Sylvanas, so I'm going to take a brief moment to take the blue buff. Now, I'm letting Scotty clear the wave because I want her to heal off of it. I know she's got lifesteal. I want her to heal off of that. She's got Bloodforge, I think. So, they're all in the mid lane, right? You're going to see me put a ward right behind this door. Boink. Because I'm expecting that I'll need to teleport to it. So I'm going to commit to this Sylvanas really quick, but all I'm really concerned about is the Phoenix here, right? Sylvanas ults. Okay. And then I see an opportunity to kill Poseidon here. He saves himself, which is fine. I ult. I'm not going to chase him under Fountain because that's obviously going to get me killed. I'm looking to just get out of here, right? That's fine. I'm okay. I see Danzaburo here, and then I'm just going to absolutely slap him down. Nuwa finishes him off, which is fantastic. We have an opportunity to kill Sylvanas. Now, I know I go onto this very specifically because you can see right here. Here's Nuwa kicking around here. There's Sylvanas. Sylvanas misses his pull. He tries it. And then I see Danzaburou here, and I see Nuwa right here. So I know that as long as I can at least stop him moving, I'm good. Right? He whiffs his Saki, I get the stun, and that's all Nuwa needed. Right? And now I see that we have Fenrir right here. You can see him here. You can see him here. We stand a pretty good chance of killing Sylvanas. Now, Scotty is dueling. I don't know who she's dueling over there. Who is that? Athena and Poseidon. Now, the Athena's fine. If it was just the Athena, I would have trusted her to take that out because she's a hunter. Hunters are supposed to be good against tanks if they build properly. That's fine. Poseidon's a bit of a concern, so at this particular point, I'm just going to try to swap the Sylvanas for the Poseidon. Okay? That is minimally what I want here. So take him out, and then Scotty gets out, and then I'm going on to this Poseidon, because again, he's huge damage. He dies. Great. Tsukiyomi ults some people. I think he takes out a whole bunch of people, actually. Yeah, a whole bunch of my allies start dying, and now this is a desperate rush. Atlas and I are just desperately trying to take out the Titan. They're trying to kill us beforehand. We have minions coming in out the wazoo. I'm just trying so damn hard, right? And then, kaboom. Minions. Minions for the win. Okay? It was an absolutely fantastic game for my whole team, really. But I also want to once again reiterate that part of this, a large part of this, is simply due to the fact that that is a really great matchup for Sun Wukong, right? Like I said, Athena had to make something happen in those first 5 levels, and she didn't, and neither did Tsukiyomi, who had the equal onus to do something about it. So the fact that neither of them were able to do so, and a few other major mistakes that I pointed out throughout the match, really shut them down. Yes, they absolutely got kills. Very true. But the lion's share of these kills were Danzaburou, right? Yes, the Athena did make something of a recovery in the late game, but the late game isn't where you do the most damage as a solo lane. You have your biggest impact, in theory, should be the mid game, which is where I hit level 20, where I was really popping off. That was beautiful timing, and that happened due to the mistakes of Athena and Tsukiyomi, primarily. Now, I'm not saying that the entirety of the match was their fault. Poseidon made some really hair-raising mistakes as well in that match. Right? Now, you might look at the Fenrir additionally. I'm just going to mention this now because some of you are probably looking at the Skadi and the Fenrir. Skadi won her lane even if she lost the fights. Okay, she cleared the first few. She cleared her towers before Danzaburou did. Okay, so she did her job minimally. That's fine. Additionally, the Fenrir did his job as well. He ganked who he needed to gank. He farmed the way he needed to. Scores aren't really the biggest deal here, okay? And that's something I say a lot in SMITE, and it's very important to remember. Yes, several of us popped off. Nuwa and I clearly popped off. That's fine. I popped off, though, when I was supposed to. Athena was really starting to hit hard at the end, but you will also notice she only has 2 protection items. 3 if you count her starter item. Right? I believe actually that gives her 40 of each protection. Right? So she was getting 105 protections from her items in the physical area and 110 in magic protections. Whereas I was kicking around with approximately 30 more than that because I had 51 from Hide of the Urchin on both. I had 70 additional magic from the Genji's Guard plus the 30 from my Sundering Axe. So in total, that's 151, plus my passive, which gives me 50 protections when I'm under half health. I had plenty of protections. I wasn't really concerned about that. But what really is the big indicator here, very specifically, is the gold. Okay, that really tells you who really did well. And the Skadi, again, she cleared her towers like she was supposed to. Great time. Now, the only real reason Skadi didn't win her fights, by the way, is very specifically probably the very slight advantage Danzaburou has in the matchup, right? If he throws that Saki after she's used her ice, because if she uses her ice aggressively on the Danzaburou, he can throw the Saki, she's taunted towards it because she doesn't move fast enough in the early game, and even to some extent in the mid game, she can't escape that if it's thrown close enough to her, okay? I'm guessing the Danzaburou used that Saki on her very effectively. Okay? And as a result of that, he was able to either, by using the Saki, section her off forcing her to go around it and giving him the time he needed to shoot Calder, or she got taunted and he just shot her outright. Right? Either way. A large part of this was also the sustain, because he had Death's Toll, which he wound up selling for chin size, which speaks volumes about how much he was trying to kill, very likely, Atlas and I. Because that's the only reason you would do that, is specifically to kill the tanks. And I was doing really well, Atlas was doing really well. Right? Atlas was doing leaps and bounds better than poor Sylvanas. That was a 4,000 gold difference, for Pete's sakes. So, very likely he sold that to better deal with Atlas and I, and it just wasn't enough. Right? But probably a lot of that fight between Scotty and Danzaburdo comes to that slight advantage. Again, the Saki is a big deal for Scotty, and the fact that he had way more sustain. And you'll actually notice she had really good penetration, which is why she was taking out those towers and phoenixes really quickly, which is what we needed, right? Danzaburdo built his much later, but Scotty absolutely did what she needed to do. She was doing exactly what she needed for this team. So that would overall be sort of the gameplay wise. Now, I've explained my build, and I've explained a large part of the problems of Athena. Now, it is, again, very interesting that Athena went into Divine Ruin, right? She did so to counter me. I built Brawler's Beatstick to some extent to counter her, because she had Polynomicon, but mostly it was for the Sylvanas and the Tsukuyomi, right? And the Danzaburdo building crits into lifesteal, which is ugly. But at the end of the day, you'll notice that the Poseidon was the one who was really hitting me hard, right? In fact, my fourth death was probably the biggest sort of example of that. And the reason why is because Poseidon has a really great anti-tank build here. The Poseidon's build here is actually very good for our team comp. Fenrir typically builds a little bit of protections because his ult doubles his protections. So a lot of Fenrirs splash in a protection item or two to really maximize that and give them a bit more leeway when ulting, right? So it's not unusual for Fenrirs to bust out a protection item or two. Now, ours went almost entirely damage. There's a little bit of protections on the egg, but that's about it. So, but the Poseidon still likely recognized the probability that Fenrir would splash in at least a couple of tank items and built very accordingly. He built very appropriately. He has Soul Reaver here, huge problem for Atlas and I, and hybrid Fenrir would also be concerned about this. He built Obsidian Shard, great build for the Poseidon, great recognition of our team composition and building against that. Absolutely fantastic. Right, Tsukuyomi also built very well. Tsukuyomi's only real issue was primarily his continuous attempts at ganking me when he really should not have been trying at that point. Right, both of his ganks on me in the laning phase were both after I was level 5 and ahead. He was not likely to succeed at that, and he probably should not have bothered. And actually both of them really backfired on him. In a way, yes, the second time he killed Fenrir, but the first time did not go well for him at all. He really should not have tried to gank me past level 5. It was too late at that point. It was even more too late by the point he actually did try to gank me, because I was ahead at that time. Not much, but enough where I wasn't really going to die. So Tsukuyomi's build is fine. It was simply his ganking attempts, the fact that I think Athena probably stole some of his jungle in the mid-game, and overall just his inability to keep up with Fenrir rotationally. Sylvanas' build is fine. I do question, you can see the I don't know why he built this, but he has Warlock Staff as his 5th item. A item that stacks on kills on an almost full tank Sylvanas as a 5th item. I don't know why you would do that. That's why he was so easy to kill. You can see that if you go back to that final fight where we curb stomped Sylvanas, that's part of the reason why. He couldn't even finish the stacks on that. That is why I don't build stacks 4th, 5th, or 6th. Literally. It just very rarely works out, especially on supports. Danzaburu's crit build was fine once he included the chin size. Athena's build, like I said, she should have started with Polynomicon. If she wanted more damage she could have gone into Soul Reaver. Look, a lot of people underestimate Soul Reaver on Athena. It triggers once on her taunt. It triggers once on her dash. It triggers once, possibly twice, on her shield wall. And since shield wall typically only hits once, right, depending on how the enemy maneuvers and how often your taunt is up, it still is going to hit really hard there too, right? She should have started with Polynomicon, gone for the Breastplate of Valor was absolutely correct, right? But she should have gone for Polynomicon as her second item, Breastplate of Valor as her third. Her fourth item should have been some sort of hybrid protections, Pridwin, Spirit Robe, Mantle of Discord, something with dual protections. Magic protections, Genji's Guard is a great option, right? Something. Possibly, if she built Spirit Robe, she could have gone into Oni Hunter's Garb and gotten some really nice damage mitigation, especially under the influence of crowd control. That would have been really great for her, especially if she got grabbed by Fenrir. That would have really saved her life a lot. Not that he grabbed her that often, but from a standpoint of her not knowing the future of the match, that would have been a really great option. And then her last item really should have been Soul Reaver. All right, yes, that excludes anti-healing, but Poseidon already had anti-healing, and Poseidon has really wide-reaching abilities. We've got the Kraken, we've got the Whirlpool. He's got some great options there. It is a little surprising that Sylvanas didn't build anti-healing. He probably should have gotten... I'm going to be really specific. His fifth item should have been Contagion. Very specifically. He needed more physical protections because I was really hitting hard. Fenrir was hitting harder than the average Fenrir because he went full damage. Scotty had a lot of penetration and was also going to be hitting him very hard, right? 3 hard-hitting physical damage sources. His Warlock Staff should have been Contagion. He would have gotten nearly as much HP, right? I think Contagion is 200 HP if I'm remembering correctly, and Warlock Staff fully stacked gives you 225. Right, so he would have been down 25 max HP. Ooh, but he would have gotten, I think it's 60 physical protections. It's 50 or 60. But he really needed those physical protections to help him survive the sheer amount of damage output that Fenrir and I and Scotty were all dealing to him. That would have been a much bigger move. Athena possibly felt obligated to build Divine Ruin due to the fact that Sylvanas didn't build either Contagion or Pestilence. So I'm not really going to come down hard on Athena for the Divine Ruin. Given what she was seeing out of her team composition, I can understand her mindset building this, but she really shouldn't have built Book of Thoth. She was already going to have a hard time boxing me in lane, and Book of Thoth wasn't going to solve that. It was going to make it her early game harder. She needed Polynomicon for a quick spike in damage. Try your best to capitalize on that in the solo lane, so that way you don't have to worry about being outboxed, and then start ulting to other lanes, getting assists or kills, and then moving on to, teleporting back to your tower. That's what she really needed to do. Everything else on her build is fine given the circumstances, even the Divine Ruin, which again was probably a reaction to Sylvanas not building Contagion, but Book of Thoth is too slow for Athena in solo lane. I'm not saying she can't use it, but 9 times out of 10, in the solo lane, it's too slow for her. She needs a faster damage spike, and Polynomicon, sitting at only 2,300 gold, and giving a huge damage spike, especially since it's very hard to miss an enemy with Polynomicon when you've got him taunted. She really needed Poly as her second item. Hands down. But that's all I'm really going to say about this match. That's kind of where that sits. Thank you all very much for joining me. If you liked this, please like and subscribe. If you didn't, please ignore me. And if you have any comments, questions, concerns, ideas, suggestions, or requests, please leave them down in the comment section below. And thank you all very much for joining me. I'm not going to talk about Sun Wukong in other roles because this is already an hour and a half long episode. I apologize. I'll talk about it in another video because I want to do another Sun Wukong solo lane because this was too much in his favor to really give you a great example of Sun Wukong with some struggles. But that'll be for another time. Thank you very much for joining me. Have a great 24 hours.